This is Super SaaS Bros with Cory and Jayde. Let's jump in.
Okay, back to you, man. SaaS products, kind of like dive into some fun facts about you. Tell us what's a SaaS product that you today cannot live without and why.
SaaS product that I cannot live without today and why. I'm trying to think of what is something that I use every single day. Well, I mean, funny enough, dude, like ChatGPT is actually one of them. Like I use that every day and I pay every month for it. So it is one of the ones that I use quite often. And then the other one that I use both like personally and for our own businesses too, I think is Lemlist. There's tons of outreach products, and that's what Lemlist is. It's just an outreach product itself.
Yeah.
But dude, like reaching out to tons of people automated every single day, my audience wouldn't be growing. We wouldn't be getting like traction in our businesses, like getting sales calls, getting whatever it might be. Like it's probably the most important SaaS products that I use and we use like today.
Totally.
So I would say I gave you two answers to that. So I would say ChatGPT and Lemlist are like my top two SaaS products that I use right now. Oh my God, actually, now I think about it, I have so much more, but I won't go down the whole list. I'll just say the last one I used a lot is Riverside, which is where we record our podcast and stuff like that. But that's the one I use every single week. So yeah. I'm clearly a SaaS user. Like,
I mean, we all are. It's funny. Lemlist, I actually never even heard of, kind of until you brought it up. And like diving into that. So that's super sweet. I think it's also probably a very underrated tool, especially for developers, right? Like, as a developer, your biggest focus is to build the best product, getting it out there. Hopefully, people go on it and they use it and they pay for it and blah, blah, blah. And the whole, statement of if you build them, they will come is kind of not fully true, right? So, and we learned that the hard way. So I think Lemlist is absolutely just like, it's a huge breath of fresh air, especially for me. And I would even say that it's definitely an underrated tool in the SaaS world. So thank you, man, for showcasing that.
Dude.
So you and we have over the past 6 months, we have built, I would say, 6 what we're calling micro SaaS. Micro SaaS is now this new buzzword that has kind of taken the SaaS world by storm. You build one feature, it solves one problem, and really just like pushes you to just sell and market and validate the product, which has just been super awesome for us to kind of dive into. If we were to build a 7th micro SaaS product tomorrow, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Can I talk about the one I'm already building?
Talk about whatever you like, dude.
Because that's the one I really wanted to be our 7th, and now it's just become a personal project for me to learn how to use no-code builders, right? So
you know what? Before we even go into that, because you just talked about no-code builder, so talk about like your background there and what brought you into using a no-code builder.
Yeah, that's like a really good question. So I have like next to no experience with developing, coding, anything of the sort, anything that requires creating on a computer, unless it's like video editing and stuff like that. Like that stuff I know, but like creating software, not my thing. It's your thing. It's like my brother's thing. Like everyone else in my world has known, even my dad knows how to do it to some degree. So I just not for me. Like my biggest experience with like, we'll call it like function writing or anything like that would be like VBA and Excel. Like, right? That's my limit. I knew how to write in VBA. That was probably the closest I ever got to like coding, at least putting in some functions, that sort of thing. So zero experience, but I've always been frustrated with not being able to create. I always have to lean on someone like, can you create this for me? Can you do this for me? Can you fix this for me? And it is just a little bit annoying. To be honest with you, like I feel bad. Like I don't always have to ask someone to go do it, even though I know they're like all stars at it. But
Right.
it's just a sense of not feeling like you can do it on your own. So I've started going down this path recently, like in the last couple weeks, of just learning how to use no code builders like Bubble
Hell yeah.
or like I think it's Adalo. There's make.com. There's a bunch of other ones as well.
Yeah.
But there's tons of no code builders out there, and I knew about them, but truthfully, I just didn't put the time in to learn. And then I just started building. Like I had an idea and I just started building it and using the no code builder, and it's just been really cool because it's a skill that you can now pick up, and being a no code developer
Yeah.
is like a thing. It's a thing.
It's
Like
a
you
thing.
can be a full-time, full stack no code
No
developer.
code developer. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just kind of wild. So I was like, great. See, I waited long enough. Didn't actually have to learn the thing. I just needed someone to build like an interface for me to utilize it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Why not?
yep. Yeah. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I got into using no code builders. I currently use bubble.io to build my current little project that I'm building.
Okay.
And it's been great. Yeah. It's been
Hell
really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Nice. You want to talk about your little project you're building?
Yeah, so this goes back to the question you asked before of like what would we want our seventh micro SaaS to be? This is what I initially wanted to be. So I built something called DealLab, and
Mhm.
because I do a lot of investments myself, do a lot of angel investments, I run a venture capital syndicate. Um, Part of the process is creating an investment deal memo. So when you find a company that you want to
Mm.
invest in, if you are an analyst in a venture capital firm, you're generally going to draft this investment memo. You're going to send it to your partner or your investment committee. They're going to read it, they're going to judge you, and they're going to decide whether or not they want to move forward. So
Right.
that is basically it. The investment memo itself is, some can say is a branch or a condensed version of like their business plan with your opinion over top of it. That is the best way to
Mhm.
describe it, is the business plan with your opinion over top of it. And so it very much can be a biased like piece of content because it
That
is,
is a great analogy. That is a great analogy. I love that.
yeah, yeah, it's true, right? That's all it is. It's a business plan with your opinion over it.
Yeah.
And so it's your reason as to why you should invest into that startup or product or whatever it might be. And so,
Right.
you have your executive summary, you talk about like, the founding team, the extended team, the velocity so far, the traction, financials, whatever they have. You talk about it, you do your own market research on top of the stuff that they've done to validate what they've done. And you put all this in a memo. And so some of them can be pretty long. Like they can actually be longer than business plans sometimes because you're adding more on top of it.
Yeah.
But they also, I think most people that write them may be like 5 pages long. That is, I think,
Mhm.
around the norm of what you see. And mostly because a lot of startups, like they don't have a lot of information if you're investing super early. Like they might not have tons of financials. Their traction might just be like user traction, and that's it.
Right.
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 So anyways, building these investment memos, they can definitely take a lot of time. Like I know when I was doing it, like I definitely spent like several hours building it out, and the only person reading it was me. I wasn't passing it off to any investment committee or stuff like that. So imagine actual like analysts writing this. They're spending a lot of time editing, formatting, making sure it's like perfect before they send it off to the partners of their firm to decide whether or not it's a good investment. So what I
Right.
wanted to create was DealLab, which is basically it's a platform that generates investment deal memos a lot quicker. And the whole power of
Right.
it is around like, and we talk about this a lot too, but around like the actual prompt engineering and the structure. So it's specifically built to build to investment memos for startups and
Mhm.
for venture capital firms. So yeah, you go in there. It's like literally just has everything, every section of a deal memo that you need. You have an intake form. You put, whatever they want in. You put their pitch deck in if they have it. If they have a deal room, like you can put some other information in there as well too, or just put it in the intake form. And then you just
Yeah.
literally start. You go down the side, executive summary, generate, and yeah, all it does, it's a good takes a call from like OpenAI, has a
Yeah.
bunch of questions of what makes a really good executive summary or makes a really good analysis of the founding team or whatever it might be.
Right.
And it brings back a first draft, and then they can do all the edits and stuff like that inside, and then they can export it themselves as well. So,
hell yeah! And when are we able to say when users are able to kind of come out and use DealLab, or are we still kind of hiding the launch date?
I don't know if I want to commit to a launch date, but we're gonna say we're gonna say. Because I'm learning as I'm doing this. Like I mentioned before, this is my first time using a no-code builder, so I'm learning a lot. So it's taking me a long time to build, but it's great. I think a good launch date for beta users will be January.
For beta users, January.
January.
Do we have a date? January 2025. All right. Well, you heard it here first. January 2025. Dude, awesome. This was sweet. There you guys have it. My co-host, Cory Silva, the man, the myth, the SaaS legend. I just want to, first of all, thanks, man, for kind of like taking the hot seat of this, man. I'm so happy and glad to be your co-host on this ride, building this podcast. So if you guys like this podcast, don't forget to kind of follow us, or where can we find us? Was it Apple Podcasts, Spotify? Where can you find us, Cory? How does this work?
Those are it. Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Super SaaS Bros.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Super SaaS Bros. Leave us a rating, 5-star, 4-star, whatever you guys think. This was great. A little comment as well. Man, this was awesome. And dude, thank you once again. And until next time, keep it sassy.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Super SaaS Bros with Cory and Jayde. We'll see you next time.